Welcome to Bitcoins and Gravy, episode 31. Today, Bitcoins are trading at $505. Now that's gravy. Welcome to Bitcoins and Gravy, and thanks for joining me as I podcast from East Nashville, Tennessee, with my trusty sidekick, Maxwell, by my side. Say hello, Maxwell. I'm just your average Bitcoin enthusiast who loves talking about Bitcoin and sharing what I learned with you, the listener. Thanks for listening, and I hope you enjoy the show. On today's show, we talk with James Sheely, a veteran UPS store owner in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. James started accepting Bitcoins at his UPS store a few weeks ago and has no plans of looking back. He tells us about how accepting Bitcoin gives small business owners a competitive advantage and how it just makes good sense. We also meet up with Nashville's own Andrew Lee, the lead developer of LibraTax. LibraTax is a fast and free way for Bitcoin and altcoin owners to calculate what taxes they owe, whether they plan to liquidate their holdings or not. All right, I am very pleased to welcome to the show James Sheely of Murfreesboro, Tennessee. James is the very first UPS store, to my knowledge, in the United States to accept Bitcoin payments. James, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
Oh, yeah. So let's see here. You're in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, and that is just south of Nashville, right?
About 30 minutes south of Nashville, one of the fastest growing communities in Tennessee.
One of the fastest growing communities because of MTSU, is that right?
Yeah, one of the largest colleges in Tennessee.
Okay, so you own and operate a UPS store.
Right, I'm a franchisee and owner of the UPS store in Georgetown Square in Murfreesboro.
Okay.
Been there for 20 years. I opened that franchise in 1994.
Wow. I had no idea you'd been there that long. And how's it going overall? Before you started accepting Bitcoin, is the store popular?
Oh, absolutely. It's been a great business for me and my family over the years. And Murfreesboro is a fantastic community to do business in, and it's been real good for us.
Okay, and you have how many employees?
Just 4 part-timers, mainly MTSU college students.
Okay, that's good. And those college students, they make pretty good employees, right?
Oh, they've been great. I've really never had a problem with them. They have good work ethic, and they want to work, and they've been good.
Nice. I remember back in college, I had many different jobs, and I can't say that I was always a great employee, but on certain jobs I was. I think it depended on what I was doing. When I was a bus driver, I was a very good employee. So let's see. You started accepting Bitcoin at your store when?
Just a couple of weeks ago.
How's it going so far?
It's been good. The community in Nashville and the surrounding areas have been loyal to my business, and we're trying to expand that. It immediately gives me a competitive advantage of being able to offer shipping services and postal services where the post office does not, and UPS does not, and my competitors do not, and Staples and OfficeMax and everybody else does not. That was my main thing, was to get a competitive advantage.
Okay, that makes sense. And now something I know a lot of our listeners are going to be interested in hearing about is that you actually sell Bitcoin at your store. Is that right?
Yeah. I was set up as a merchant and also as a brick and mortar location to buy Bitcoin. It has to be cash because it's similar to money orders. It's a cash transaction, but it is the only physical location in Tennessee that we're aware of that you can buy Bitcoin.
Okay, so people come into your store and they give you cash, or they can pay with a credit or debit card?
No, cash only transaction.
Cash only transaction, and then obviously you're not selling Bitcoin for what the price is showing on Zero Block, for instance. You're charging a premium?
It's 17%. From what they tell me, for Bitcoin ATMs and other physical locations around the country, that is a competitive rate, yes.
Okay, competitive rate. All right, and so how has your business been going so far as actually selling Bitcoin?
There was a lady who came in that we met at Flight the other night. She had a special event that she wanted to give away Bitcoin as a gift or a prize.
Oh, right.
And sold some Bitcoin to her.
Okay.
And sold some to my employees, and I actually bought some myself.
I think that was the gal from Southern Alpha.
Yes.
Jen? Is it Jen?
I believe so.
She's a nice gal. I'm supposed to do some event with her here in a couple of weeks in September.
That's the event she's giving the Bitcoin away at.
Right. Okay, nice. So your employees, did you actually get your employees into Bitcoin before you started accepting Bitcoin? Did they know anything about it?
Not really. The only way they knew anything about it is one of our good customers, Sean Roy, who's a Bitcoin miner, comes into the store all the time, and he's, fired up and talking about it all the time. So they started asking questions, and one thing led to another, and they got their little Bitcoin virtual wallet on their phones, and they put $20 in it, and they're off and running.
Nice. Yeah, Sean Roy, he is one of the newly elected members of the interim board for the Tennessee Bitcoin Alliance, the TBA. And you're right, Sean, if you're listening, hello. Sean is on fire when it comes to Bitcoin. So was Sean the one that got you interested first in Bitcoin?
Absolutely.
Hey, nice work there, Sean. And I think Sean is campaigning around the state now.
He really, when he gets in the zone talking about Bitcoin, he really gets fired up. He's a lot of fun.
Yeah, he's a lot of fun. And at the event we had at the Toy Box studio, Sean, of course, was there, and his wife, Angela, made some of the best chili I've ever had in my life.
Well, I haven't had the pleasure of having their chili yet. So.
Oh, man, it was some good stuff. I'm still thinking about it. So as far as UPS, as the larger company, the mothership, do you anticipate UPS accepting Bitcoin at some point?
I can't speak for UPS corporate as a whole or for the UPS store franchise. We are all independently owned.
Okay.
And I have made the decision as my independent location to take Bitcoin, and other store owners might do that, but there is no corporate lead on that whatsoever.
I see. So you're just all of the individual stores are just completely independent, right? And you can do this if you want to, right? How did you know how to do this? How, for other people out there, not just with UPS stores, but other businesses, how do you know how to do this? How do you figure out not just how to accept Bitcoin, because you can go through Coinbase or you can go through BitPay, but how do you figure out how to sell Bitcoin?
Well, let me say the first resource you should go to is the newly formed Tennessee Bitcoin Alliance.
Okay.
Which, again, Sean Roy is a part of, and John Meese.
Yeah, John Meese and Luke Stokes. Yep.
They have a lot of resources on their website as to what is Bitcoin, how do you set up Bitcoin, and they will come out and get you going. What they did for me is they got me a little tablet with the point-of-sale Bitcoin software on it.
Okay.
And that is how we transmit our Bitcoin sales.
Okay, so talk to the Tennessee Bitcoin Alliance. That's good advice. And so when it comes to actually selling Bitcoin, there are people I'm sure that would say, hey, how can you sell Bitcoin? How do you know the legalities behind that so that you're not considered a money transmitter or something like that?
Well, it is very similar to Western Union being a money transmitter, and you fall under the same common sense rules and regulations as money transmitting.
Okay. You keep your books in the same way that you keep your books for Western Union?
Absolutely.
Okay, and you also do offer people can come in and they can buy through MoneyGram or Western Union?
I used to handle Western Union, but the Kroger right next to me handles it, so I do not do Western Union anymore.
It just wasn't cost effective for you? Just didn't make sense?
Now when you go right next door to Kroger and do it. So
I see. That makes sense. When you were doing Western Union, is that also, I shouldn't call it a premium, what is that called that they charge over?
Fee.
It's just a fee.
Money order fee.
So when you were doing Western Union, what was the standard fee that would be charged?
Well, I didn't do wire transfers. I only sold money orders.
Okay.
So, $1.50 for a money order.
Right.
I don't know how the commission fee works on money transmittals for Western Union.
So can you give us a little bit of a background, James, about your business experience over the past, let's say, 20, 30 years?
Yeah, in the middle 1980s, I was a VP of operations for a large mail order computer company. We sold Commodore 64s and Commodore 128s and Apples, and then IBM compatible started to come into play at that time, and we were one of the first companies to offer direct mail to home computer sales at the time in the Chicago area.
Wow.
And as IBM compatibles came down in price, what we had to offer wasn't so valuable anymore, so our company slowly dissolved, and I was out looking for work. So I saw the Mailboxes Etc. franchise growing like Subway used to many years ago in the Chicago area. They were popping up on every corner.
Yeah.
Did a little homework and was actually researching the Nashville area to live, and found an ad to, a franchise ad to open a location, and I loaded up the truck and headed to Nashville and sold everything I had up there: snow blower, snow plow, antique car.
Oh, man.
Everything. Headed to Nashville, opened the franchise, and been in the franchise business ever since.
Wow, that's cool. Is that something that young people starting out today, or business people starting out today, is that something that's still viable? Can people still do that, or is it a lot more difficult to get in now?
No, I mean, starting a franchise is, you got to do your homework. You need to talk to people, talk to other owners, and do your homework and researches and make sure your finances are going to work. And yeah, sure, you can absolutely. It's still viable.
Have a little money down. So now, did you drive that Harley from? No, you drove a truck from Chicago because you got a nice Harley I saw outside.
Yeah, no, I found that actually on Craigslist in Nashville about 4 years ago.
It's a 2003, man. That's a sweet machine there.
Yeah, thanks.
I think I've only ridden a Harley lowrider once in my entire life. One time on a Harley. How sad is that, man?
Yeah, well, I was lucky to find it, so I'll keep that for a while.
And that's a 2003?
Yeah, 100th anniversary.
Nice, man. That's great. For our listeners who are small business owners and who are thinking about accepting Bitcoin, can you give them any advice, or can you talk a little bit about why you think it's a good thing to accept Bitcoin, or why right now maybe it's a little bit premature to say, yes, accepting Bitcoin for your business is the greatest thing in the world? Do you have any thoughts about that?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that. I am one of very few merchants in the Middle Tennessee area that decided to go ahead and try Bitcoin. And what other businesses are hesitating about is, what is Bitcoin? I don't understand. Why should I take it? Who spends it? Is it a scam? Is it going to blow up? And all this, there's so much skepticism out there. But you don't have to be. I mean, it's been around 5 years. Mm-hmm. There are people spending it all over the world. As you probably know, Dell recently announced that they're taking Bitcoin, and what was it, Overstock.com's already, and Tiger Direct, and there's
Dish
TV, and
bunch of them.
What is it, the LA Clippers or something like that? I mean, there's some major players taking Bitcoin. Yeah. So you don't have to get too caught up in what's Bitcoin and is it real and all this stuff. There's really no risk to setting up your merchant account. And what you're doing is you're tapping into a customer base that at present time is kind of I'll call it an underground because I can't think of a better word right now. But
I think the word underground applies.
But anyways, they have a currency that they need to spend.
Right.
And they don't have a lot of choices. So by becoming a Bitcoin merchant, you are now accepting a currency that if your competitor is not accepting it, that person that has Bitcoin is going to go, oh, I can ship a package over at James's UPS store, but I can't go down to the post office and do that.
Right.
I'm going to go over there. So the immediate positive is this Bitcoin population that already exists is going to be loyal to your business right off the get-go because they need places to go to spend their Bitcoin.
I like it.
So there's no reason to hesitate on that regard. Mm-hmm. There is a customer base out there. They will be loyal to your business. Now, is that going to increase your business 5, 10, 15, 20%? I can't answer that, and I doubt it because there's a small segment of the population.
At this stage.
Right. But it is absolutely a growing, exciting, positive direction that it's going. Mm-hmm. Every time you meet anybody who's involved in Bitcoin, they're educated, they're positive, they're focused, they totally understand what this virtual currency does now and what it's going to do in the future. It can only help you to be part of that. And again, you're not exposing your company to any risk or anything. It's just another way of accepting a currency. It's very little difference from a debit card, except it's a virtual currency and not a credit card.
Yeah, I think the way you described it is great. It's really a no-brainer if it's not going to hurt your business at all, right, in any way, but it's going to give you a competitive advantage, then why not do that? I guess maybe some merchants out there, they're thinking, wow, if I put that Bitcoin accepted here sign in the window, the old ladies will come by and, shake their umbrellas at you, or, the people will come in and they say, oh, you're one of those, and they'll all of a sudden think that they know your political slant and they'll stay away from your business because you're one of those guys and they're on the other side. But I think that's a worry that is being generated by the media, and the media often does that, where they generate these fearful thoughts. Don't do this. We're here to protect you. For anything that they're afraid of. In the same way, we all talk about how in the early days of the internet, there was all the fear mongering, right? It's going to cause everyone to become a pornographic freak or something. So I think we all now know in the Bitcoin community, and I think the world is learning also that, those fears are kind of unfounded. But have you had anybody come in and give you any flack about accepting Bitcoin, or express their fears to you, or try to pigeonhole you in terms of your beliefs in any way?
Bitcoin is based on such incredibly high-tech technology that a lot of people, first of all, they don't understand it. And what you don't understand, you're somewhat fearful of. And yes, there was some bad press, a year and a half ago.
Right.
Some things blew up and there was some bad press about it.
And then the Mt. Gox thing, which happened, 4 or 5, 6 months ago?
For me as a merchant, that doesn't matter. It is a viable currency. It gives me a competitive advantage. It's growing. We don't know where the growth is going to go, but who cares? I mean, it's good PR for me to accept Bitcoin. It's good for the business. It's going to bring in the Bitcoin population that can't go anywhere else. Mm-hmm. And the currency is going to grow the way it's going to grow. But in the meantime, I'm the first one in, and I'm happy to do it.
How long have you been accepting Bitcoin now?
2 to 3 weeks.
2 to 3 weeks. Okay, so it's just very brand new for you. And I would love to have you back on the show, let's say, I don't know, 2 or 3 months from now.
Yeah, I get through Christmas time and we'll see how it goes. And but again, I did get an immediate response from the Bitcoin community that owns Bitcoin, needs to spend it. They've already been in my store. So
nice.
It was worth it right off the bat. And now I can grow with the rest of it. And again, you can't go to the post office and buy a book of stamps with Bitcoin, but you can come over to my place and do it. So, for all of you other merchants out there that might be listening, whether you be a landscaper or a small little retail shop, is your competitor accepting Bitcoin? If the answer is no, reach out to the Tennessee Bitcoin Alliance, get some information, have somebody come visit you and see what it's all about, and just get that tiny bit of competitive advantage, which is hard to do nowadays. Getting any little advantage you can get, you need to jump on it.
Absolutely. That's good advice. And, for online businesses, we know from the people we've interviewed and from all the reading that we've done here in the Bitcoin community, we know that online businesses are seeing a 10, 20, 30% increase in their sales once they start accepting Bitcoin and start accepting Litecoin. Of course, we know the online businesses are very different from the brick and mortar businesses. It's just a different world.
They reach people all over the world.
Right.
Whatever numbers they are, is because they're reaching people all over the world that have Bitcoin. Now, when you go down to a local area, you don't know who has Bitcoin in your 5 mile trade area or 10 or 15 or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
But it's worth finding out. Put it in. You're listed on a Bitcoin map on the internet, and you get PR from that. And, you might be interviewed on this radio show or be asked to go to a function, or, it's good PR, and it can't hurt your business.
Right. Now, you just mentioned function. We've got just a few minutes left. Did you go to the function last night there in Murfreesboro?
I did, a merchant seminar.
Merchant seminar. John Meese led that. Right. And how was that? Did you feel like that was a good thing for merchants to experience?
Absolutely. If you're poking around the internet and you see one of those, go check it out. Gives you a little bit of understanding about Bitcoin and why you should take it in your business.
Quell some of your fears, right? If you're a business that's on the fence about it, thinking about accepting Bitcoin. James Sheely is here to tell you that so far for him, it's been a good thing, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm an old school guy. I mean, I'm over 50 for anybody who was wondering. And I was, cash was king. I was taught to pay cash. Make sure you got cash right in your wallet. Cash. So anybody I know, they have a real difficult time understanding virtual currency.
Yeah.
If they can't feel it and touch it in their hand.
Right.
This is a problem for a lot of people trying to understand Bitcoin. Mm-hmm. But I got it right away because the college generation that works for me, they do everything on their iPhones. They rarely carry cash. They got their debit card, they got their credit card, and they do everything else on their phone. So what a perfect fit for them to have Bitcoin in their virtual wallet on their phone and not have to carry those debit cards and credit cards. It fits right into their lifestyle. So I totally understand where this is going, and I think everybody else should take a look at it.
Well, it's like the old guard when credit cards came along. I'm sure there were many, many people that said, I will never have a credit card or a debit card. It's cash only, right? And now, look at all of us. We're carrying a debit card or a credit card. So I think it's the same thing. But yeah, I love the image of the young people there on the campus at MTSU, and they're walking around with their phones. And really, the next logical step is that they're using their phones to pay for everything, right?
Absolutely.
Just really a no-brainer.
I hope they do it.
I hope so, too. Well, hey, James, thank you so much for being on the show. This was great having you here at the Treehouse Studio. Thank you so much for joining me today.
You are very welcome. And anytime you need me to comment on Bitcoin, give me a call. We'll do it again.
And hey, next time I'm in Murfreesboro and I need to send a package, I'm going to stop by your store.
And use your Bitcoin.
I'm going to do it, man.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, thanks a lot. Oh, I know that knock. Oh, yeah. Hey, Seamus McCurdy.
Well, if it ain't John Boy Walton. How are you, John Boy?
Come on in, Seamus. Man, it is great to see you. Hey, grab a mic.
John boy, what are you doing in here? Microphones, computers?
Doing the show. Hey, sit down. Have a seat, man. Grab a mic.
Oh, you sure, John?
I'm sure. Hey, listeners, this is my mailman, Seamus McCurdy. He just stopped by to deliver the mail, and oftentimes we sit and talk and solve the problems of the world. Seamus, welcome to Bitcoins and Gravy.
Oh, thanks, John. It's great to be here.
Hey, could you get a little closer to the mic?
How's that, John?
Hey, that's perfect, man. So just kick back and relax, and welcome to the show.
Ah, thanks, John. It's great to be here on Bitcoins and Gravy. And it's a great day. Sun is shining. I've nearly finished me route early, and I'm taking Mary to the movies tonight. So, where's Lidge?
Well, my friend, I have some bad news. Lidge has actually left the show.
Don't tell me that, John. It can't be true.
Well, Lidge has a busy life, and he's just taking care of the things he needs to take care of. We're still good friends. He's still helping me with my music, the Bitcoin songs. We actually have a new one coming out here in a couple of weeks called The Bitcoin Trader. But anyway, Lidge has a daughter, and he's got a life, and we've been doing this podcast for, almost 7 months now, and basically we've been doing it on a volunteer basis. So I just think Lidge really needed a break. And so I'm doing the show solo, and it's going to be tough. It is tough.
Ah, John boy, you're breaking me heart here. I can't believe Lidge is gone. Lidge was half of the show. Without Lidge, it'll only be half the show it was. Oh, what? No, John, I didn't mean it. I didn't mean half the show, but you know what I mean.
Take it easy, Seamus. I know what you mean, and I feel that way too. It's going to be half the show that it was. It breaks my heart, but I don't know what to do.
Oh, there, John boy. I hate to see you in this way.
Well, I really appreciate it, Seamus. You're a good friend. And, don't worry about me. I'm going to be fine, really.
I know you'll be fine, John, but there must be something we can do to get him back.
I don't think so, Seamus. When Lidge sets his mind to something, it's like a bear trap closing down and there's no way to open it back up.
I know what we'll do, John. We'll give a call out to all your listeners. If you're wanting Lidge to come back to the show, then let him know.
That's actually a pretty good idea. Okay, well, let's do it. Listeners worldwide, if you want Lidge to come back to the show, then give us a call on the Bitcoins and Gravy hotline at 615-208-5198, or send an email to howdy@bitcoinsandgravy.com and put in the subject line, Lidge come back to the show, and then feel free to give Lidge every reason you can think of for why he should come back and be a part of Bitcoins and Gravy once again.
Ah, John boy, another brilliant idea of yours. You did it again, lad.
Actually, Seamus, that was your idea, if you remember.
So it was, John boy, so it was. We'll all be off now. I don't want to keep Mary waiting 1 minute longer than she should.
Right, Seamus. Hey, thanks for stopping by. It was great to see you.
Oh, don't worry, John. I can feel it in me heart. As sure as the sun shines in the morning, Lidge will be back to the show. See you later, lad.
Oh. Thanks, Seamus. Whether techie, trader, investor, nerd, you still might want the magic word. And today's magic word is music.
Now climb aboard, y'all. This train is bound for glory. And there's plenty of room for all. Well, Satoshi Nakamoto, that's a name I love to say. And we don't know much about him, but he came to save the day. When he wrote about the way things are and the way things ought to be, he gave us all a protocol this world had never seen. Oh, Bitcoin, as you're going into the old blockchain. Oh, Bitcoin, I know you're going to reign, till everybody knows, till everybody knows your name. Down the road it will be told about the death of old Mount Gox, about traders trading altar coins and miners mining blocks. But them good old boys back in Illinois and on down through Tennessee, see, they don't care to be a millionaire, they're just wanting to be free. Our Bitcoin, as you're going into the old blockchain. Oh, Bitcoin, I know you're going to reign, till everybody knows, till everybody knows your name. Halls of Parliament, while the bankers count our money out for every government. Oh, Bitcoin flies on through the skies of virtuality, a promise to deliver us from age-old tyranny. Oh, Bitcoin, as you're going into the old blockchain. Oh, Bitcoin, I know you're going to reign, till everybody knows, till everybody knows your name. Till everybody knows, till everybody knows your.
Give me some exposure.
Everybody knows your name. Sing it. Oh Lord, pass me some more. Oh Lord, before I have to go. Oh Lord, pass me some more. Oh Lord, before I have to go. Thank you, East Nashville. Y'all be good to each other out there, you hear?
All right, I am very pleased to welcome to the show Andrew Lee, who is the lead developer for Libra Tax. Andrew, welcome to the show.
Hi, John. Thanks for having me.
We have a very unique show here today at the Treehouse Studio here in East Nashville, Tennessee, because we have a guy outside with a chainsaw, chainsawing trees. So I don't know if that's going to come through or not, but we're here to do the interview. Andrew's been nice enough to join us, and if the guy with the chainsaw can keep it to a minimum, we have no control over him. So all we can hope for is that he doesn't break into the house and chainsaw us. So Andrew, first of all, before we get into Libra Tax and to the meat of it, can you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself and your tech background, and also how you first got into Bitcoin and digital currencies?
Sure. So I studied graphic design in college, but I've always been kind of a tech guy, and that led to me making websites for friends and for small companies. I moved to San Francisco to work at some startups, and that's really when I got deep into the tech community.
Okay, what year was that?
This was 2010.
2010, okay. And so you got into the tech community, and on what level?
I was designing web apps.
What led you to Bitcoin?
My roommate at the time was seriously into Bitcoin, and he would have these USB mining things that were running in our apartment. Probably raised the power bill a lot, but
it warmed it up too, right?
It did.
San Francisco, you know what Samuel Clemens, Mark Twain, said about San Francisco? He said, the coldest winter I've ever spent was a summer in San Francisco.
Oh, yeah.
And that is a cold city. It can be anyway, but also a beautiful city. I always say it's the closest thing that we have here in the U.S. to a European city. Beautiful place. So your roommate got you involved in Bitcoin. He was a Bitcoin fanatic, I guess, right?
Yeah, you could say that.
And then did that fanaticism catch on with you? Are you now a Bitcoin fanatic?
I would have to say, yeah.
Okay, nice. And have you done any further mining on your own?
I think the time that I got around to it, spring of 2013, it was a little past the mining window. I think.
Okay. So you didn't get to mine, and like a lot of people, it's kind of nice now that the average person can't mine Bitcoins, because when they ask, that's the first thing newcomers ask, how can I mine Bitcoin? And now, instead of trying to explain it, all I have to do is say, you can't.
Yeah.
Right?
We're past that point now.
Past that point. They can mine altcoins, and that's obviously viable, and that's what a lot of people are doing, right? So Libra Tax. Tell us about Libra Tax.
LibraTax is accounting software for digital currencies.
And LibraTax is a CrossCoin Ventures company, is that right?
Yes, we were one of their first companies in their accelerator program.
Okay, and that's a private investment company working in cooperation with Ripple Labs?
Right. We share the same office space as Ripple Labs, but they're a private investment company.
And how is it going so far?
It's going great.
When did you guys launch?
We just launched our public beta last Wednesday.
What kind of response are you getting so far?
So far, it's been pretty great. A lot of people have been interested in altcoins, and primarily we're focused on BTC and Ripple, but you could, of course, enter in any alt currency that you want.
I see. So it's set up for really any alt currency.
Yeah, you just lose some of the features that we have, like fair market value, if you don't know the price at the time that you enter in your transactions.
Okay. And when you say Bitcoin and Ripple, does that also include, as far as the big ones, does that also include LTC, Litecoin?
That's one of the ones that you'd have to enter in manually.
From what I've heard over the past couple of years in terms of merchant acceptance and whatnot, that it's always BTC is the gold and LTC is the silver, right? Bitcoin and Litecoin hand in hand. So from what you're telling me now, it sounds like Bitcoin and Ripple hand in hand. And those two communities seem not always to agree.
I would agree that Litecoin is the silver to Bitcoin's gold. Ripple is kind of a different beast. They're all about the gateways and exchanges. So it doesn't really matter which currencies you're trading from. Ripple's going to be the intermediary between them. They're trying to make that exchange seamless. So regardless of what you're trying to convert, what currency you're converting into another currency, there's going to be some gateway that exists out in the world that will be the intermediary for that transaction.
Now, is that what Ripple's trying to do, be the intermediary?
They're providing the platform where people can do that.
I see. And are you yourself invested in, what is it, XRP? Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have some XRP?
I have some.
Are people investing in Ripple hoping that XRP is going to go up in value?
I'm sure someone out there is.
Do you think that it will?
I certainly hope so, since I own some.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, that's a good answer. I actually own some too. I'm not gonna tell you how many, but I'll tell you it's under 1 million. Anyway, so okay, let's talk more about LibraTax. LibraTax is comprised of how many people?
Right now there's 4 of us.
Okay, and can you talk a little bit about the rest of the team?
Sure. So our CEO is Jake Benson. He was a former consultant for Capgemini doing payroll. He started LibraTax around the time that the IRS issued their guidance.
Okay.
So early 2014, he had this idea, and we have mutual friends. So that's kind of how we got involved in creating this thing.
Okay, so the reaction to the IRS guidance obviously has been huge. A lot of people are angry that the IRS is even butting their noses into this, right? And a lot of people are thinking, well, this is good because all of a sudden it gives legitimacy in quotation marks to Bitcoin, which a lot of other people will argue Bitcoin doesn't need to be legitimized, right, by forces that some people consider to be illegitimate themselves. There are people who consider the IRS to be illegitimate, that what they collect taxes for, the foreign wars and all of that, is not necessarily legitimate. There are other people who think that the IRS is completely legitimate and that we should all pay our taxes, and that if we stopped paying our taxes, we wouldn't have a police force or a fire department or public schools. And, you know, I think I stand somewhere in between there. I would like to see less foreign wars. I'd like to see better public schools. I don't want the fire department to go away, but I certainly hope the police state doesn't take over. But when it comes to taxes, when it comes to people being taxed for Bitcoin, that's now like being taxed for personal property, as if you collected fine art or something like that. Different from a commodity, right?
It's taxed as a property, so you pay capital gains if it appreciates in value.
Okay, in the same way that you would be paying capital gains if you owned a piece of land and you sold it and the price had gone up?
Right.
Or a house or anything like that?
Stocks or anything like that.
Stocks or anything like that? Okay. Where do you stand on that? Obviously, with LibraTax, you think it's important for people to pay their taxes.
You know, I'm with most of the people in this country. Paying taxes isn't exactly a cathartic experience, but I am an American citizen, and if I have to pay taxes on it, then I'll do that.
Right.
The beauty of Bitcoin, though, is that it is global. So if you live in a pro-digital currency country, then really it's up to you what you want to do with it.
Right. So do you think that there are people right now who are dealing in Bitcoins, buying, selling, or just holding on to Bitcoins who are completely anonymous, people who have Bitcoin and nobody in the entire world knows that they have it? It seems possible to me, right?
Certainly possible. But when you think about it, every transaction is publicly viewable. Mm-hmm. So that doesn't seem very anonymous at all, does it?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I always imagine that somebody has, let's say, $1,000, okay, right now, and they want to buy some Bitcoin with it. So they go to their friend who has some Bitcoin and they say, hey, sell me some Bitcoin. So the person sells them some Bitcoin, and let's say they put it on their phone, on a wallet on their phone, and then they take that and they transfer it over to a paper wallet that they just generated, a key pair that has never existed before, right? So it's on the paper wallet now. Nobody can really know who owns that, right? That seems to me like that would be 100% anonymous.
Doesn't that exist on the blockchain, though?
It exists on the blockchain, but by anonymous, I mean that nobody knows who owns that.
Right,
So
there's no personally identifiable information.
no personally identifiable, whereas we know if you go to Coinbase and buy some Bitcoin, right, and then you put it into a paper wallet, and later on you buy something online with that from an online store, tealet.com, let's say, they sell fair trade teas, and you use Bitcoin, well, all of a sudden there's a trail back to your Coinbase account, this person who first bought Bitcoin on Coinbase, and you can say, okay, well, let's follow them. Well, they bought tea here in 2014, 2015, they bought a car, 2016, they bought a Learjet, 2017, they bought an island, in the Pacific. Wait, what's going on here? What do you mean what's going on here? The value of Bitcoin's going up, isn't it obvious? But anyway, so yeah, I think it can be anonymous, and I think that it can be, as they call it, pseudonymous or pseudo-anonymous. And then, of course, there are the people who have Bitcoin and they have altcoins and they've seen it go up in value and they spend it and they use it and they want to pay taxes on it because they don't want to be caught with their pants down at some point, right? They don't want the IRS to come and audit them at some point and say, hey, you haven't been paying your taxes over the past X number of years. And that's what LibreTax is here to help people with, right?
Right. So take, for instance, a company that wants to offer their goods or services for Bitcoin. Whenever the Bitcoin community approaches these companies, the benefits of adopting Bitcoin are usually, well, there's no fees.
Mm-hmm.
And that, in comparison to getting audited by the IRS, is not worth the risk.
Good point.
So, and regardless of your political stance or how you feel about taxes, everybody needs accounting. You're buying coins or getting coins through some way, and you want to see whether they appreciate or depreciate.
Are people required to pay taxes on their Bitcoins if they're just holding on to Bitcoins, or is it only when you go to sell those Bitcoins or buy something with those Bitcoins? How does that work?
When you buy something or you sell Bitcoins, that's a taxable event.
But just holding on to Bitcoin is not a taxable event?
Right. You only pay a percentage of the gains that are realized after you've spent coins.
I see. So in that sense, it's different than owning a house, for instance. So for my house, I have to every year continue to pay taxes on this house. I have to pay property taxes, right? And then if I sell the house, I'm going to have to pay capital gains on that. So how exactly does it work if somebody comes to you? They would go to LibreTax.com. Can you kind of walk somebody through from the first time they land on the page what they would do?
Sure. So you would go to LibreTax.com and sign up for an account. And from there, we have a variety of methods that you could import your transaction history. The most popular one is if you have a Coinbase wallet. It's one of the most widely used ones here in America.
Okay.
You can link your account and it will pull in your entire transaction and trade history to your account. We also offer CSV uploads for a few exchanges.
What's that stand for, CSV?
Comma separated values. It's just a text file with all of your transactions in it.
Okay.
Or you could enter them manually, one by one.
And are you seeing a lot of people doing this now?
Yeah, there's been a surprising amount of people interested in it. If not to pay taxes, just to see how much they've gained in Bitcoin.
I see. And has there been any fear expressed that if they go and they start putting these numbers in to LibreTax, that information, their private information or Bitcoin information, is going to be shared around with anybody?
So right now, when you sign up, we only ask for an email and a password.
Okay.
There's no personally identifiable information.
Email and a password, so that would be easy to still remain anonymous, right? Especially if someone were blocking their IP address, right? So they could still remain completely anonymous at this point, and they could get information about what they would owe if they decided to pay their taxes.
Right.
Right. Now, is there a cost to signing up with LibreTax and to putting your numbers in there?
At the moment, it's free.
Wow.
But we will be offering premium version for CPAs and anyone who's got some heavy-duty stuff like merchants.
Okay. So right now it's free. Do you think that down the road this is something that you would be charging for, this service? Because it seems like a very valuable service for a lot of people.
Maybe whenever we have some premium features. For now, it's going to be free.
For now, it's going to be free. So what else can you think of that the listeners would want to hear about LibreTax?
I would say that digital currency isn't going to go away anytime soon. It's definitely the way of the future, and there needs to be systems in place to deal with that, because right now nobody's really thinking about these problems.
Right, yeah, that's a good point. Are you real bullish on Bitcoin? What do you think it's going to take for Bitcoin to become widely adopted? Because I think when we're in the Bitcoin community, sometimes it feels like we're going to these meetups or going to these conferences, if we can afford it, and it feels like the whole world is on fire with Bitcoin. But then we step back to reality and we can just be at a festival and we can walk up to someone who's making pottery and we can say, hey, do you accept Bitcoin? And they just, first answer you always get, what is Bitcoin? What do you think is the future of Bitcoin and Bitcoin acceptance?
I have friends who aren't on board and they make fun of me all the time for being involved as I am in Bitcoin. But I think we're also in kind of a chicken and egg situation.
Mm-hmm.
So really there's not many reasons for a consumer to want to go and spend Bitcoin like they do regular dollars. Like I'm not going to go buy a soda with Bitcoin right now.
Right.
So that's kind of holding back merchants from wanting to offer it. Like I mentioned earlier, there's associated risks with accepting the currency if you're not totally accounting for all of it.
Right.
So in that sense, somebody's got to have a reason to initiate that transaction.
You mentioned not wanting to go buy a soda with it right now. I think Jesse Alvey here in Nashville with the Nashville Bitcoin Network, I think he's working on building a Bitcoin soda vending machine, isn't he?
He is, yeah.
You seen that project?
I mean, that would be great in the future. I'm also kind of a speculator too. So once I buy that soda, I probably could have bought a whole pack of them.
Yeah, you mean if looking into the future?
Right.
Or the machine itself, you never know. So yeah, it's funny how people are so optimistic about Bitcoin in the future and the value going up and up and up. And right now we're looking at, Bitcoin holding at around 500 or something. Is this the new low for Bitcoin right now? And is this just the springboard from which it's going to, as we always say, to the moon? Part of me is worried that when you get Wall Street involved and when you get the hedge fund guys involved with Bitcoin, that they will be able to, or, the central banks, they will be able to manipulate the price of Bitcoin and control the price of Bitcoin. Not just that some of them are whales, let's say, right, who own a lot of Bitcoin, but just in the way that they set up the trading. Do you have any thoughts on that?
It's definitely going to be a different ballgame whenever these larger corporations and people with money that have enough to throw around get involved with Bitcoin. It's kind of been nice over the past few years because you have tech guys and nerds and stuff who aren't that involved in finance, but it's interesting to them. So that's been kind of a gateway for a lot of people like me to get interested in things like trading.
I see. Do you do a little trading?
Right now, no.
I see. But there's some interest there?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, I've tried to do a little bit of trading, but it's hard, People don't realize that it's not an easy thing. It's just as easy to lose as it is to win. It looks easy, All I have to do is this and this, and I'll win. But yeah, if you do this and this and you're wrong, you got a 50-50 shot, then you lose. Here in the next couple of weeks, my new song, The Bitcoin Trader, is coming out, and it's a fast-paced song that I think, hope people will really enjoy. It is kind of a tongue-in-cheek song. It is from the perspective of the kind of arrogant Bitcoin trader who never fails and always wins, and that's what he lives for, is trading Bitcoin and just winning over and over again. So I hope it's well received. So let's see here. Do you have any closing thoughts that you'd like to leave the listeners with when it comes to LibreTax, or when it comes to finding out what you might owe if you've been dealing in Bitcoin, buying, selling, trading with Bitcoin? Any closing remarks that you might leave with the listeners, or any words of advice?
As someone who used to track all of their purchases and sales in a spreadsheet, I can tell you that LibreTax is a much better way of keeping up with things like that.
Easier, just very user-friendly?
Yes.
Okay. I've just glanced at it, but I have not gone and put in any information at all. And the reason for me is that I don't really spend Bitcoin. I'm one of those people who just has some Bitcoin, not a lot, and I just hold on to it. I don't know if the day will ever come when Bitcoin is valuable enough for me to liquidate those paper wallets wallets. Who knows? Maybe I'll just be passing them on to my grandkids and saying, keep your fingers crossed like I have. You're carrying the torch now. But, I think that it's okay. I've been among the people accused of hoarding Bitcoin. And I've said it many times that, we're in an era where holding onto your Bitcoin looks to some like hoarding, but it looks to me like just being practical. I'm holding on to this because I'm thinking of it as a savings account that, very well may come to fruition someday. There's no guarantee, but, I don't think there's anything wrong with saving. I think saving is actually what our grandparents used to do, which allowed them to do things that we can't do these days. Well, we can't do these days without going into debt, right? And I think that's now what's in style. Go into debt. And I think it almost seems like it's a national pastime. If I don't have the money to buy what I want right now, what am I going to do? I'm going to go into debt. It's no longer just an option. It's almost something that people expect. It's almost like part of our birthright. Don't I have the right to credit? Don't I have the right to go into debt? And, I can't tell, are we learning this from our government? Has our government learned it from us? Who started this insanity of saving is bad and spending is the way to go?
I would say that's the credit card companies.
The credit card companies, man. Someone a while back said credit card, I think it was Andreas Antonopoulos when I first heard him say credit cards were invented in the 50s. They were never meant to be online.
A couple things I wanted to add to go along with credit cards being invented in the 50s.
Mm-hmm.
We're at an interesting time now where the world is more connected than it has ever been, and there's a lot of technological advancements since credit cards have been around that just trump them in every aspect. So with Bitcoin, there's no chargebacks, and it seems like kind of a dumb thing to say, oh, well, no refunds. But by doing that, you're actually eliminating tons of man hours of having to go in and look at transactions and say that they're fraudulent and refund someone's money. And there's also two-factor authentication. This is something that wasn't really in use prior to Bitcoin, but now it's becoming a standard security measure.
So just in a nutshell, for our listeners who may not know what two-factor authentication is, tell us in a nutshell, what is two-factor authentication and how can it help people, not get ripped off?
So if I were to send some money from my Coinbase account, not only would I have to initiate that send while logged in, but I would have to confirm it using a different device. That way, no one can just get my login information and just go crazy spending my balance. They would have to have my cell phone too in this case.
Okay, and they would have to be able to get into your cell phone, and I assume that if you have your two-factor authenticator set up on your phone, I assume you have a lock on your phone of some sort.
Right.
So they'd have to get your phone, and even if they had your phone, they'd have to get past the lock. So yeah, that's very valuable, and it's not just phone. Aren't there other devices that can be used?
Yeah, you can get 2FA apps on your computer.
Okay.
That work the same way. You just have to enter in a code to confirm that the transaction actually happened.
And they're going to send that to you by way of email?
It could be through email or through their app.
Those are things that people really need to think about. I think right now we're in an era where people are so used to knowing that there's somebody standing by. If my credit card gets hacked because I used it too many times at Target, that there's some guy standing around who's going to help me. I call my bank, help. Something happened. They stole my identity, which actually just happened to a good friend of mine. Someone somehow got her credit card information and was buying things down in Miami, right? And it was difficult for her to get the whole thing resolved. But, we all know that when we're using credit cards, I think we all feel safe knowing that there's somebody out there who's going to watch out for us if somebody tries to steal our identity or if somebody tries to steal our credit card information. And I think that makes us feel comfortable knowing that. When you tell people, well, we don't have that with Bitcoin, that makes people feel very uncomfortable because it's outside of what they're used to. And I completely understand that, but it just seems to me like we're in an era where we're always looking for somebody else to take care of us in a certain way, and we're not willing to, figure it out for ourselves and figure out, well, how can I keep my money safe? Do I have to always use a safe deposit box? Do I have to hide it under the mattress? Or can I use something like Bitcoin, be smart about it, figure out how to use it, figure out how to use two-factor authentication, and be 10 times safer, 1,000 times, infinitely safer than using a credit card, right?
Right. Well, for those people, I'm sure that someone out there is going to create a business that will hold your hand, and it will still operate on Bitcoin in the background, but you'll have that peace of mind.
Yeah, I'm sure that's coming. Escrow services and the like, and just somebody who's going to offer insurance. That's definitely coming. There's a market for that. I'm sure there are people already working on that, right?
Probably.
Andrew, it was great having you on the show. Thank you very much for introducing our listeners to LibraTax, and they can find that by going to LibraTax.com. And are there other ways that they can get in touch with you?
LibraTax.com.
LibraTax.com. Do you guys have a Facebook page?
We do.
Okay. Just go to Facebook and put in LibraTax. How about Twitter? Are they tweeting about you now?
People are tweeting.
People are tweeting. Nice, man. I think I hear them tweeting right now. Hey, Andrew, thank you so much for coming on the show, and good luck with everything with LibraTax. And I'm sure you're a young man. You're very intelligent. I am going to guess this is probably not the last tech project that you will be involved in when it comes to the Bitcoin community. So I look forward to talking with you down the road about LibraTax and also about your other projects. Thanks a lot, Andrew.
All right. Thanks, John.
Bitcoins and Gravy is made possible by the Tennessee Bitcoin Alliance, the first state-focused nonprofit organization dedicated to promoting blockchain technologies for a free and equitable society. To learn more about the Tennessee Bitcoin Alliance, visit tennesseebitcoin.org. I'd like to thank our guest today on the show, James Sheely from the UPS store in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, and Andrew Lee of LibraTax.com. To find out more about my guests and sponsors, check out the show notes on the Let's Talk Bitcoin page or SoundCloud or on bitcoinsandsgravy.com/episode 31. Thanks for tuning into the show, and if you really do like the show and you aren't just faking it, please tell your friends about it or send them a link to the show. And remember the Bitcoins and Gravy hotline. Have you ever wanted to be a podcaster? Then call Bitcoins and Gravy at 615-208-5198 and leave a message with your comments, questions, or complaints. This is your chance to give me a piece of your mind and tell me what you really think about the show. And if you give me permission, I'll put your call-in comments on the show. I also thank you for your generous donations in Bitcoin or Litecoin that help me keep the lights on and coffee in the kettle. Signing off now from East Nashville, Tennessee, I'm your host, John Barrett, with my trusty companion, Maxwell. Say goodbye, Maxwell. You all be good to each other out there now, you hear, and remember, the only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men and women to do nothing. Thanks for listening to Bitcoins and Gravy from East Nashville, Tennessee.